This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The views expressed by the hosts are their own and should not be construed as definitive or factual. While we strive for accuracy, much of the information is based on publicly available sources, which may include varying interpretations and occasional inaccuracies.
Listeners are encouraged to conduct their own research and form their own conclusions. Discretion is advised as some topics may be sensitive or controversial. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and storytelling. This is Babe, Let's Join a Cult. Welcome back, everybody, for episode 4 of Babe, Let's Join a Cult. Today I'm joined with Babe,
The one and only.
and we're hitting it comfy cozy. It's late. I just showered into my skincare if I'm shiny on the video.
Just a little bit. You'll be all right. You look cute.
I wanted to be comfy
Hey,
cozy.
episode 4.
Episode 4.
Wow.
Wow.
I didn't know I could commit to anything this long.
We've been dating for a long time.
I know. That was a joke.
Oh.
1 year. Almost. We're getting there.
Almost.
We're creeping up on it,
We are.
right?
But anyways, this episode is formatted a little bit differently than normal because I started school again this week. So I didn't want the responsibility. I know. Claps all around.
Mhm.
Digital marketing science. Here we go. But I didn't want the responsibility of having to research the cult this week. I wanted to focus primarily on getting my school going and setting a routine. So Babe took over the cult story this week. And this week I'm listening as he tells me of a cult that I have yet to hear about. I told him to pick one I don't know anything about.
Which I did.
And that wasn't on my list.
In all my free time, I was able to write this.
Yeah. He obsessed over it for one whole day.
Research and write. I watched some things, listened to some things. I got the nuggets I needed to get.
You do have a lot more free time than I do. Maybe this is just how it's going to have to be.
We call it free time, but it's more I have work time.
You label
And
it as work time, but it's free
because
time.
I own my own business, work is a little bit subjective to what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is work.
Yeah, this
I'm a
is
producer of Babe, Let's Join a Cult and a co-host.
Yeah, sounds cooler than it really is.
Work that doesn't pay me anything.
Exactly.
The best kind of work. That's how you know you love what you do when you don't get paid to do it.
Yeah, nonprofit.
True that.
But
How was your week? What's up?
my week was good. It's been a really nice week, actually. It's been enjoyable. I started school, which has been nice. I had a little bit of PTSD from previous school, so it was a little harder to get going.
I think people throw around the word PTSD way too casually. I heard there's a couple people that I heard use it today, and I was like, that's not enough.
Well, I had bad anxiety flashbacks to my past time in school. But this one's chilling.
But
It's
you
pretty
overcame them, and now you're here. You're a survivor.
Yeah, well, it's
You
nice I get
are
to
a
just,
survivor.
it's all online, so I can just stay at home and do it instead of having to like drive an hour, sit in a lab for 8 hours,
Exactly.
talk to no one but dead bodies for 8 hours.
That you liked, though. That
I
didn't
did
give
like
you,
that. I
Of all
really
the things
enjoyed
to
it.
give you PTSD, you would think that dead bodies might do it.
No, dead bodies was the one thing I found very comforting. I really enjoyed working on my cadavers for 8 hours.
Kitty man. Got a cat.
We do. And he's gonna
Oh, yeah. He's going to snuggle hard. Hey, buddy.
co-host.
Hi, buddy. All right. What do you say we get into it now that we have Ozzy here?
I say we get into it.
All right.
Let's get
Episode
going.
4
Episode 4.
is titled Branded and Betrayed.
Ooh.
There it is. That's what I was looking for.
It's so strange.
It's going to be a good one.
Reversed.
I know.
How the
right?
tables turned.
Yeah. You get to put it in my butt.
Someday.
No.
Oh.
Absolutely not. Not the direction. This Branded and Betrayed. Okay?
Betrayal.
Betrayal. That would be a betrayal.
No.
Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Firing away.
Ozzy's ready too.
Ready, Ozzy? In 2006, Allison Mack was at the crossroads in her life. At the height of her fame from her role as Chloe Sullivan on Smallville, she found herself grappling with a sense of dissatisfaction. Despite her professional success, Mack felt unfulfilled. Yearning for deeper meaning and a sense of purpose beyond the superficial trappings of Hollywood, It was during this vulnerable time that she decided to pursue personal development, hoping it would help her navigate this existential period.
Ooh, existential
Dude,
kinks.
there it is, right? That's like cult entry 101. Are you feeling existential dread? Yeah.
Always.
Checkbox. Enter. Mac was introduced to a group through a mutual acquaintance in the entertainment industry. Kristen, her co star on Smallville, had attended what they referred to as an Executive Success Program, or ESP, a flagship course of the group, and recommended it as a transformative experience. Intrigued by her enthusiasm, Mac decided to explore what the organization had to offer. In 2010, after wrapping up Smallville, Allison attended her first ESP seminar in Albany, New York, where the organization was headquartered. The seminar was presented as a cutting edge self help program that promised to help participants overcome their fears, unlock their potential, and achieve extraordinary personal and professional success. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Sounds pretty legit.
Sounds pretty legit.
I may or may not have been a part of something incredibly similar in Colorado,
Yeah.
offering and expressing the same exact things. The workshop was intense but inspiring. People spoke about personal breakthroughs, shedding emotional baggage, and transforming their lives. The program included concepts drawn from psychology, philosophy, and neurolinguistic programming, or NLP. Mac was immediately impressed by the focus on empowerment and growth. At the center of it all was Keith Raniere.
Wait, neural what?
Neurolinguistic programming.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know specifically what that means. I could take a bunch of guesses, but I
Yeah.
didn't research that specifically.
It just sounds interesting.
I think it's just about programming how our brains have attached meaning to circumstances in our lives, situations in our lives, and then giving those situations different meaning. You know, like we attach fear to public speaking, but if you could reframe that so that your brain then attaches joy to that experience, you've then unlocked that ability, right?
Yeah, so instead of anxiety to school, well,
Yeah,
I don't know,
and
joy to it.
definitely. I think oftentimes too, it's in our language as we talk about something. You know, like you talk about having PTSD, like you've now solidified and validated that PTSD once again. You know,
Well, it
it's like it
reminds me of
continues.
I talked to someone who was like, "When you can't say you are a bitch, just that
You're acting like one.
you're acting like a bitch.
Exactly. It's different. Language is important.
Don't solidify it.
Yeah, don't say that. Guys at home, don't say that.
Don't say acting like a bitch. It still doesn't get you the right
But-
nose ring.
True. I mean, you may not get the result you want, but if you are acting like one,
Co-host.
it's unfortunate that at home I can hear him purring in the headphones,
Can
but
you
we're
really?
gonna do some post-production work on the audio and it will eliminate his purring.
No.
He might come in, you never know.
Cat ASMR.
All right, at the center of it all was
Yes.
Keith Raniere,
Keith Raniere.
a soft-spoken man who exuded a disarmingly calm authority.
We
So
love
a
a
little-
soft-spoken man that
Yeah, a little bit
deludes.
different than charisma, right? It's not totally the same.
I see why you picked it.
He was introduced as a brilliant thinker, a man who had supposedly devised a revolutionary system for unlocking human potential. From the moment Allison Mack joined, and for future reference, I'll either refer to her as Allison Mack, or Mack.
Okay.
Raniere singled her out, lavishing her with attention and praise. He reframed her doubts and vulnerabilities as opportunities for growth, promising breakthroughs and empowerment, as any good coach would.
Did he know her through Smallville?
I would imagine he knew of her fame. I can't say for certain to what degree that was true, but
Like
I would
was
imagine
just curious
Smallville was
if,
popular.
Yeah, and I'm curious if that was like had something to do with the single out because she's already like a media icon in ways.
Right.
He was like, "Ooh, if I single her out, like this can only help my cause."
For a young woman yearning for direction and purpose, his words felt reassuring and safe. Within the group, Raniere was hailed as a near mythical figure, described by members as one of the smartest men in the world.
Ooh.
A genius with unparalleled insights into human behavior. When Mac met him, she was captivated by his calm, deliberate manner and his uncanny ability to connect deeply with those around him. He seemed to radiate wisdom and a spiritual authority. Sorry,
More
Kitty
co-hosts.
jumped on the computer. That resonated perfectly with her longing for meaning. Though not traditionally charismatic, Raniere's true power lay in his ability to read people, particularly the women in his orbit. These women,
Ooh.
beautiful, influential, and magnetic, adored him, becoming his devoted disciples and, more importantly, the protective circle that amplified his allure.
Wow. So
Surround yourself with hot women. You could conquer the world.
Yeah, you and all of our guy friends.
Governments should take note of that.
They should. Get the old wrinkly dudes out. Hot women in.
Hot chicks only.
Like Gabe said in episode
Still
1,
can't
shoot
vote,
for the
though.
stars. What was I gonna say before I lost track? Was he like, so he wasn't like super charismatic? Was he like that? You know, when you meet, maybe you don't because you're a dude. You know, when you meet a guy and he's like really attractive, but like really hot because he's kind of like quiet, nerdy, smart.
Yeah, I think it's more about like his presence was felt,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't necessarily
He
need
didn't
to
have to
be this
push
big
it.
charisma. Like I think that he had this intention
Like
about him.
intensity.
Not necessarily intensity. I didn't observe intensity from it. It wasn't as like intensity to me has like a fiery element to it,
Mm-hmm.
like piercing. He wasn't like that.
Oh.
I think that he was just really confident. He believed in his own
Confidence is key.
nonsense, And I think that more importantly, he did a great job of people really touted him for his ability to read people really well,
Mm-hmm.
to understand what you needed, what your inner workings called for, and he could then speak to that.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm curious to watch like a video of him.
We'll be able to watch some now that I've exposed what I'm talking about. You still don't know the group technically.
I still don't technically. Nuggets.
Raniere took a special interest in Mack, spending time talking to her about her insecurities and ambitions. He framed his teachings as a way to help her break free from limiting beliefs imposed by society and her career in Hollywood. Raniere's flattery and attention made Mack feel seen and valued, which deepened her desire to learn more from him. Beyond Raniere's personal influence, Mack was also drawn to the community that surrounded the group. Participants were passionate, enthusiastic, and supportive, creating a sense of belonging that Mack had longed for.
And this was in New York, right?
Albany, New York is
Okay.
where it was
I just want to
headquartered.
make sure
Eventually, they would have centers in various places. The group felt like a family, a stark contrast to the often competitive and isolating world of entertainment in Hollywood. The emphasis on self-improvement and personal accountability appealed to Mack's desire to grow. The teachings challenged her to confront her fears, reassess her values, and embrace what she saw as a higher purpose. She became fascinated by the group's philosophy, which Raniere called rational inquiry, a system that claimed to help individuals achieve peak performance and emotional freedom. This philosophy of personal responsibility was liberating for Allison, as she was responsible for her life and that she had the power to influence and change it.
Mm-hmm.
Which oftentimes in these types of groups, and in the one that I was involved in, there is this ultimate responsibility, is what it was called for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true. It's like there is no space to be a victim in your own world. If there is something occurring, you are either calling it in, drawing it in, co-creating it subconsciously. Like you have the ability, once you take ownership of it, you can then change it.
Mm-hmm.
And until you take ownership of it, you are disempowered by it.
You still bring that stuff up often in like day-to-day life.
Radical responsibility, yeah.
Radical responsibility,
to the
existential
cats.
kinks.
Except existential kinks is one of my favorites. One of the things I'm still working through, though, is that at least Ozzy, the cat on her lap a little bit ago, loves her.
I love him.
Absolutely adores her and couldn't give two shits about me.
No, he's my man.
Breaks my heart. Anyway.
Rational responsibility.
Irrational responsibility.
Oh,
you are at fault for everything.
I know, because the cat loves me.
Yeah, exactly. After completing her initial workshop, Allison dove deeper. She began attending advanced courses, participating in the group's activities, and immersing herself in its philosophies. Raniere praised her commitment and positioned her as someone with the potential to be a significant leader within the organization. His validation fueled her dedication. Over time, Mack grew increasingly involved in their operations, She saw herself as a vital part of the movement that could transform lives and potentially the world. Her initial curiosity evolved into unwavering loyalty, and she began recruiting others, including friends and colleagues from the entertainment industry, into the programs.
Ooh, see, that's why he wants her as number one because she already has this hierarchy, and then
Hmm.
she can recruit other people with hierarchy, and it just gives him a good way in, a good foot in the door.
Yeah, and we all have a validation loop that we're
Hmm.
craving. And I also think that celebrities, stars, entertainment industry folks may have that more exposed because they're constantly subject to someone
Critiques and
else's
judgments, and
criticism.
it's so competitive in that industry. So then to be in
Right.
something where you're welcomed as you are and less competitive, it's probably really refreshing for them.
I would imagine. I wouldn't know. I'm not famous.
Mm.
Almost.
Yeah, you're a podcast
I
producer.
was almost famous once time.
Were you?
No,
Oh,
no, that was a movie
I was
reference.
like, you can't
I keep
sing, you
every
can't
podcast I reference a new
act.
movie. Okay. All right. I can act hurt. You want to see?
Yeah. I don't think it's acting.
Ow. Uh,
Ow.
ow, that
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah, that'll get you the part.
I think so for sure. I should try out for one of our local plays. Could you imagine me on stage?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks, babe.
It would be
So
funny.
supportive. I love that. Beneath its polished veneer of self help, quiet rumors began to stir that NXIVM
Ooh, dun dun
concealed a
dun.
sinister reality, one that Allison Mack became deeply entangled in.
Yes, so where it starts to get good.
By 2015, she was no longer just a follower, but now a key leader in the group.
Oh, she went from disciple to leader.
In 4 or 5 years,
Dang, living the life.
she was responsible for managing a secret subgroup within NXIVM known as DOS, short for it's Latin, but it's Dominus Obsequious Sororium,
Ooh,
which
sounds like a cool
which
spell.
very, very, very loosely translates. There's a subreddit that goes into detail about this, and they think it's just gibberish. But
Hmm.
according to them, it translates to master over slave women.
Oh, that's dark.
Mm-hmm.
And
Seriously.
she knew? Did she pick the name?
I don't believe she picked the name. Her involvement, I'll go into it. Her involvement was like she led that side of the group. Mac's role in DOS was central and deeply troubling. As a top ranking master, she was tasked with recruiting women into what she presented as an exclusive, life changing sisterhood. She leveraged her charm and influence to gain their trust, convincing them that joining DOS would help them conquer their fears and unlock their potential. So you can start like you can get yourself familiar with their languaging, unlocking your potential, breaking free, radical responsibility. Like they use these big phrases,
Hmm.
and
And it makes
everyone
you
uses them.
feel like you need to do this in order to get
Right.
here, like because you need to break it or you need to
Hmm.
unlock it. It needs to be
You're
done.
not there yet, but
Yeah.
you can get there through
By
this
doing this.
process.
And I mean, she's probably targeting, I'm sure you're going to get into it, but like you got to target, sadly, like women who are self conscious or something happened, or maybe they're, I feel like all women, there's a part of them looking for some sort of, you know,
Mhm.
community of women all trying to do this. But I feel like in other cases, it's really easy to target like already, what's the word?
I don't know, traumatized.
Yeah, like women who have already experienced a rough go or a rough
Hmm.
past or have had issues in relationships or life or family.
Right. Well, and it wasn't just women. This particular subgroup within this
Was women.
obviously was women specific,
Yeah, and if you put
but
a women like a woman leader in that
mhm,
role, it makes it a little bit more reassuring because for me, I'd be less likely to join that if it was a man in that role because I'm like, eh. But if
right.
it's another woman, then it feels a little bit more comforting.
That is what he did well.
Hmm.
He surrounded himself, as I said in the beginning, with numerous women that were all that charismatic, inspiring, and they talked so highly of him. Loved him, adored him. You know, did you say
Never mind.
slut?
No, no.
I heard you say you
I was gonna
whispered
say
slut.
sleeping with him.
Oh, Well, possibly we're gonna get to that.
I know, but
But
then I figured you
you
were gonna
could
get
learn
to
a
it.
thing or two from these women.
You like the sass.
I do. As a top-ranking master, she was tasked with recruiting women into what she presented as an exclusive, life-changing sisterhood. She leveraged her charm and influence to gain their trust, convincing them that joining DOS would help them conquer their fears and unlock their potential. Recruits were required to provide collateral,
Ooh, what was collateral?
nude photos,
Ooh,
deeply
blackmail.
personal secrets, or incriminating information under the guise of
Blackmail.
personal growth and accountability.
Oh, that's great.
In
Not
reality, this collateral was used as blackmail,
Mhm.
obviously, to ensure their loyalty and silence. So that caught me. I was like, why? What would inspire you to want to provide this information willingly? Because they all did willingly,
Mhm.
right? And so I did a little bit more research in how it was phrased or how they created this situation. So first off, this group that these women were joining, this wasn't advertised as like an initial group, right? So this
Mhm.
is already after they're indoctrinated,
Mhm.
after they're already exposed to all of the language and all of the training and
And
all
this
of these
like
courses.
brainwashing.
And these women are selected, right?
Uh-huh.
It's not just this widely available group.
Oh, they pick them out?
Yes. And so they're brought into this group. They're selected, brought into this group, and this is disguised as a practice of commitment to self growth and overcoming fears. So it's like they're basically, like you could spin that and be like, do you have fear of your body? Do you have fear of how you look? Do you have a trauma? This is how you
Do
break
you have
free of
guilt of
that.
this that you did in the past?
Exactly.
Ooh,
You bring that to light and you share it with us, and then you're
we'll show
free
you
of
how to
it. You're
break it. Yeah.
empowered. Exactly. So not only that, there's they used it as a way of building trust. Like all these girls already did it, so it's you have to do it to join this group. They already did it, and look at them.
And
So,
if you don't do it, then like, how are we going to trust you on the same
exactly.
level?
Exactly.
That's I
So they
say
were
like,
already
wow, that's
groomed.
so good, but like not
Hmm.
in like a that's good, but like that's just
Yeah.
because I mean, incriminating evidence, nudes, blackmail, it's all things you can be so easily blackmailed with. And these people are just like, here, take it.
Right. Right.
Take my nudes.
Have it. There you go. The psychological conditioning made the request seem less alarming than it otherwise might have been
Mm-hmm.
because they're already accustomed to that
Yep,
process.
they're already a little
Hmm.
diluted to the waters.
Now, one of the most shocking practices within DOS was the branding ritual. Now, this is the part which Allison Mack is reportedly not only she involved in, but she had a significant role in developing the idea to do this to these women.
So she was behind
Yes.
the idea of this
Yes.
specifically. And did
That
she
is what I read. How accurate that is, I'm not totally certain. So I just there's a caveat there.
Yeah.
But I believe that she is the one that brought this and said, hey, we should do this.
Mhm.
I don't know how it was,
Allegedly.
allegedly. Thank you.
Um,
That's the word.
So was she the one in charge of performing this?
Yes. She was, if not the
Not just
one doing it,
overseeing
she
it?
was there involved walking these women through it.
Okay. I wanna know
Women
more.
were led to believe they were participating in a powerful rite of passage. They were restrained, often naked, while a cauterizing pen was used to brand them. Only after the ceremony did many women realize that the design burned into their skin near their pelvis contained Keith Raniere's initials, KR.
Oh. Oh, that's horrible. They didn't know what the brand was before? Not
That's
that
what
that would, like, help.
that allegedly, that's what I read. That's what
Oh.
I've researched. The process was agonizing, but Mack reportedly comforted the women, urging them to embrace the pain as a symbol of their strength and commitment. So it's part of the breakthrough. You have to go through this pain to break through. And once you're through, you're free, right?
No, 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 no. My mom always taught me never get his name or his initials tattooed on you.
Well,
And that's
she
been
didn't
in my
say
brain since I was itty
brand,
bitty.
so there's some wiggle room there.
It's the same thing.
Mack also enforced strict rules on the women she recruited, including mandatory calorie restrictions. Some were forced to eat as little as 500 calories a day,
Ooh,
along with
no.
frequent check-ins and acts of servitude. Beyond these practices, Mack was instrumental in coercing women into sexual relationships with Raniere,
Yeah. Gross.
manipulating them into believing it was a path to empowerment or spiritual growth.
No.
Don't fuck the guy.
No. How can you? No. I just hate that it's a chick doing dirty work, but it's a man's dirty work, but the chick's doing it for other chicks to be exposed to it.
Right?
I don't even have the right words, but it's gross and it's
Yep. It's like
disappointing.
a Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah, but she probably like thrived off of like the rush of power and leadership because she was someone like of hierarchy in the group.
Yeah, of course. I'll get into it too.
Okay.
Survivors later recounted how Mack twisted their trust, obviously, convincing them that submitting to Raniere's demands was a way to overcome their insecurities and societal conditioning.
Mhm.
And what is so difficult about this and about these types of groups is that this whole process is a reprogramming of how you intuitively interpret the world around you.
Mhm.
And so you have someone in a leadership position telling you that you are interpreting this wrong and you need to have it reprogrammed so you can actually view it right. And the signals that your body and your intuition are telling you are inaccurate because
Mhm.
they're programmed incorrectly.
And your body's probably like, get the fuck out.
And so
This is weird. And they're like, no.
who do you trust in that situation? Like, right?
Your
You're already
body.
so deeply involved in this
Trust your
process.
body.
Yeah, but
I
a
know,
lot of these
easier
women
said than
can't,
done,
right?
too.
It's like if you've already been exploited in some way outside of this group, but that's how you found your way to this group, you already have a disconnect. You don't trust your intuition because at some point it led you astray or didn't keep you safe.
Even if that hasn't happened, I mean, it's so hard for just anybody to like fully trust that intuition because you're like,
Right.
oh,
It is difficult.
it's
Absolutely.
difficult. So it's easier said than done, of course. But I'm just like,
Yeah.
no.
This is the first one that's really dabbled in like sexual exploitation. I mean, Charles Manson did as well, kind of, but
Yeah.
this is a little bit darker.
Yeah, and we didn't really talk about Charles Manson as much.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
true. Yeah.
like, it was a huge part,
But this was such an instrumental part
was a
of,
huge
especially
part.
bringing it down.
Mhm.
For years, the dark truth of NXIVM and DOS remained hidden, protected by the loyalty of its members and the collateral that kept them silent.
Oh, even after they left too, probably, yeah?
During Allison's tenure, Keith Raniere meticulously manipulated her, exploiting her vulnerabilities to turn her into one of his most devoted enforcers. He identified her need for validation and purpose, feeding her a narrative that she was uniquely chosen to help him create a revolutionary movement for personal and societal transformation.
Mhm.
Raniere positioned himself as a mentor and visionary, showering her with attention and praise, which reinforced her loyalty and dependence on his approval.
Mhm.
Twisted, man. He flattered Mack, calling her his junior co-leader and presenting her role in DOS as pivotal to empowering women, all while ensuring she remained blind to the true nature of his exploitation. So she was brainwashed into believing this, that all she was doing was good. And
Yeah.
that's what's so deeply horrifying
And how
about this.
long has it been since she's, like, been in it?
At this point, I
10
think
years?
it's 5 years, 6
5 years?
years. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was, like, deep in it, and she
That's a
probably
long
had
time.
ties with outside community so cut off that this was all she knew at that point.
Right.
And before that, even just, like, being in her career field, she was probably individually, like, pretty limited in her social circle.
Well, and I believe
Let me turn that off. Staples. No.
I believe that the TV show she was on was from like 2000, early 2000s to 2011. And
Mhm.
so she was a part of this
She was
community
doing
for
this
a
while doing
decade.
that?
No, one
Oh.
followed the other. So
Okay,
she had
okay.
just
Sorry.
finished this thing, and it was like the highlight of her career. She
Her
was on
whole
it for
life.
10 years and then stops that and then gets involved in this. And so it's like she's at this big transitional period in her life. Like doesn't know what to do, doesn't have
Mhm.
anything else going on, and then bam, falls into this.
Yeah.
Raniere weaponized Mack's influence, instructing her to recruit women whom he could groom for his own sexual gratification. He framed these relationships as part of his teachings on breaking down inhibitions and achieving personal enlightenment. Mack played a critical role in persuading women to participate. She acted as an intermediary, presenting Raniere's sexual advances as acts of liberation, even though they were coercive and predatory. Behind closed doors, Raniere reinforced his control over Mack through a combination of psychological manipulation and emotional abuse, making her complicit in the systemic harm he orchestrated. From their first encounter, Raniere presented himself as a solution to Mack's restlessness. He listened intently, making her feel seen in a way few others ever had. He didn't dismiss her doubts and insecurities. Instead, he reframed them as opportunities. "You're extraordinary," he told her. "You just haven't unlocked your full potential yet, but you can." His words planted a seed, offering her a glimpse of a version of herself she hadn't realized she wanted to become.
She didn't want to.
Raniere carefully nurtured that seed, and to Allison, it felt like he saw the real her, the person beneath the actress, someone capable of changing the world. His attention was intoxicating, and she began to crave it. He often referred to her as special, a natural leader who could help women find empowerment and liberation through his teachings. But Raniere's manipulation wasn't limited to flattery and promises. He subtly introduced ideas that would make her question her own instincts and judgment. When Allison expressed doubts or hesitated to follow certain instructions, Raniere would challenge her, suggesting that her hesitation was evidence of her fear and weakness.
Oh, gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I don't really know. And they're like, well,
Right.
that's because of this.
Saying things such as, "Your fear is controlling you. If you can overcome it, you'll truly be free."
You're like, I'm not even scared. This is just wrong.
Right? His words created a dynamic where compliance wasn't just loyalty, it was proof of her personal growth. So if she did what he recommended, then she had broken free and was now freer than she was before.
No.
Right.
No, she's deeper.
Deeper and deeper.
It's rough.
Very rough. This
I
whole
have so many
process.
questions, but like I just need to wait for you to do the story.
I'm happy to try and answer some.
No, because they're like end questions.
Hmm.
I'm sure you're going to cover them.
He also instilled in her a sense of responsibility. So the more she did, the more power she got, right?
And then the more she got obligated to do.
Exactly. And so it's deeper and deeper and deeper. And then, imagine she starts to say no, and then he strips her of the power, and then she's back to
And then
who she was.
Wants to crave that power again.
While it's all being framed as the further she goes along this path, the more liberated and free she becomes. And I bet you she feels that way because she's being empowered as she does it, right?
Yeah. Just getting gold stars along the way.
Exactly, which feels great.
Are these banging?
They're banging, baby. Yeah, you're fine.
Are they bad?
No, they look great.
They're not. I can see them in my peripheral.
We're leaving this in, by the way.
That's okay. I can just see them. I showered, and my bangs are banging.
You look beautiful.
Aww.
I know. Can I continue now?
You didn't tell me I'm liberated?
No, not yet.
Nope.
You have work to do.
I'm not doing it. I have my own things to do. Sorry.
She'll do it.
No.
He told Allison that she was chosen, that she had a unique role to play in spreading NXIVM's mission. "You're a leader," he said. "Women look up to you. You have the power to change lives." And she began to see herself as an integral part of something much larger, and her loyalty to Raniere deepened. He convinced her that her contributions to NXIVM weren't just for the group, they were for humanity. Raniere wasn't always gentle. If she faltered, he could be sharp and even cruel. He would challenge her self-worth, suggesting that she wasn't living up to her potential. It was a psychological game that kept her striving for his approval, desperate to regain the feeling of being special in his eyes. Over time, Raniere's influence over Allison solidified. She wasn't just following him anymore. She was defending him, advocating for him, and enforcing his will. He had taken her insecurities and her search for purpose and turned them into tools to bind her to him. She believed in his mission so deeply that she couldn't see the harm she was causing or the harm he was doing to her. By the time the truth began to unravel, she was in too deep. Her sense of self entangled, leaving her complicit in a nightmare she once thought was her transformation.
So she kind of woke up?
As it all came crumbling down, yes.
She was like, oh my gosh, like this.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, if it was crumbling down, I just imagine like the group, the cult, whatever, is like this thing, and then it starts to crack, and then through the crack leaks the lights where people are starting to be like, oh, like this is not right and this is not right, because it's all starting to leak in, and then it's tumbling, and then it's being broke open and exposed to outside society who these people haven't talked to or been a part of in so long. So then they're now getting that wave of, information and morals. And does
Right.
that make sense? That's how I see it in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the only way it works, right? Like you're so indoctrinated in this belief. You need something so loud and so bright to show you the shadows of your own inhibitions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's keep going. I want to hear
Okay.
more.
In 2017, former members began speaking out. So now this is 7 years after Allison's
Yeah, because she started in
indoctrination, about
2010.
2010,
Yeah.
2011. In 2017, former members began speaking out, revealing the abuse they had endured. A New York Times expose blew the lid off of NXIVM, focusing on the branding, the manipulation, and the cult like dynamics of the group. Allison's name was prominently mentioned, and the public was shocked to learn of her involvement. The ex member responsible for the New York Times article was Sarah Edmondson. And
Mm.
she is the one. She's the one that really brought this attention because this article then led to the investigations that
Yeah,
then
and
ensued.
everybody kind of turning an eye towards it and being like, "What's
Right.
happening?"
In October of 2017, Sarah Edmondson sat frozen in her car, gripping the steering wheel, her pulse racing. She had just left NXIVM, the organization she once believed would change her life. Now she knew it for what it truly was, a sinister cult led by a manipulative predator. She had given an interview to the New York Times exposing the branding ritual that marked her body and the horrors she had endured. But as much as she wanted to believe she was free, she couldn't shake the creeping fear that she wasn't safe. Within days of the article's publication on October 17th, Sarah's phone began buzzing from phone calls by unknown numbers, threatening texts, and ominous emails. Messages like, "You'll regret this, you think you're brave, but we know everything about you." She recognized the tone, as it was the same chilling language the group used to keep its followers in line. The same logic that made her hand over collateral she now feared would destroy her life.
What was her collateral?
When Sarah had joined DOS, she had willingly provided nude photos, signed false confessions, and divulged intimate secrets about her family.
Okay, the falsely signed confessions might be a
Yeah,
little
I
worrisome.
don't know the specifics on what she signed.
Mhm.
I mean,
And it yeah,
I
and it
did
depends
as
on the
much
family.
research as I needed to do, but there's so much more. Like every cult we discuss, this is just
Mhm.
a
A nice
dabble
skim
into
off
it.
the top.
Yeah, seriously.
I just think that, like, if I was in that position, at that point, I'd be like, "Fuck the nudes, I don't even care."
Yeah, if it was just nudes, but who knows what other secret,
Yeah,
like
or, like, what
it's layered.
you sign and what your family secrets are.
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm spacing on his name, but I listened to an interview with her and her husband, and he was also in the cult. And I believe they
Oh,
met in the
okay.
cult. I could be wrong.
Okay, so she was part of the DOS, but he was part of, like, the whole
Yes, yes. So
the main thing. The DOS was a sub.
how her revelation came to be was that she was branded,
Mhm.
went home, and they were both like, "What just happened? Hold on. This
Yeah.
is not okay." And then they reached out to the organization, and then the organization pretty much immediately put pressure on them
Yeah.
because they were like, "This is unacceptable." And the group was like,
No, this is how it
"Yeah."
is.
I don't even think they went head on. I think they like mounted, and
Mhm.
like legal and got all wild. And then they were like, "Uh-oh, all right, this is a fight. Like something's wrong."
Mhm.
Yeah, because it wasn't like a conversation of, "Hey, why did you guys
Just
do
went
this? What's going
drastic.
on?" It just like they just leveled up really
Yeah,
fast.
because they know it's wrong.
Yeah, and it put them on the defensive, and then thankfully, they were willing to fight.
Yeah, and I mean, if they got that reaction from just that, then obviously that's gonna flag something to be like, "This
Right,
is really, really wrong."
right. But the threats didn't stop with collateral.
Mhm.
Nixium's legal machine, fueled by the seemingly endless wealth of Claire Bronfman, a leading member and the daughter of Edgar Bronfman Sr., the billionaire businessman and former chairman of Seagram's, the liquor empire, swung into action. So there was a lot of
Name
money.
dropping, yeah.
There's a lot of money. So from what I gather, Claire and I think her sister were bankrolling a lot of Nixium's.
And they were members?
Yes.
Were they part of the DOS?
I'm not sure if Claire was part of the DOS. That's a good question.
Mm.
Sarah received a letter from NXIVM's attorneys accusing her of breaching her non-disclosure agreement and threatening to sue her for defamation.
Ooh, they signed a non-disclosure
At some point in the
when
process, I
joining?
imagine. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, who knows? So when they first do the ESP, that initial deprogramming,
That's
that
probably
they
has like a
do sign a
non-disclosure
non-disclosure
and like a
there
release form.
where they're not allowed to talk about the program.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that blankets all of it.
Yes. And, you know, like this has been touted as a multi-level marketing scheme, right? It's like you
Multi-level cult.
exactly. You do this thing, and then you have to get other people to do the thing, and then they get other people to do the
The
thing.
pyramid.
Everybody's doing the thing. It's a
Cult
huge Ponzi
pyramids.
pyramid scheme, which is in a line with the program I did in Colorado as well. That a lot of the same undertones about self-improvement and self-growth and the pyramid scheme elements are the same. I think that we just didn't have this like central leader who we were all like subject to.
Did you experience any toxicity?
There is some gaslighting and some manipulation involved in that for sure. Where like if you questioned anything, a lot of it was like you need to just trust the process. There's a
Yeah.
lot of that. If you had
Yeah.
any resistance, it was like you're not trusting the process. Like where in your life does this also show up?
Yeah, and you're like,
You're
whoa.
like
I f-
you're immediately like just kind of thrown on your back.
Yeah, I feel like, in my opinion, that's common in a lot of like those find your spirituality or do
Right.
this, like those programs. I feel like that is often.
Because you're writing such a fine line.
Yeah, but just trust the process.
Yeah, well, it's not that it's all bad because there is breakthroughs that come from that.
Yeah,
That
from
come
trusting
from
the process.
trusting the process. Because oftentimes, like there are experiences I have where I was resistant, reluctant. There was something I was battling, and it was an internal battle that I was making external. And having someone call me out and say, like, this is what you're doing. And if you were to just lean into that or trust the process, your breakthrough is right on the other side of whatever you're resisting. And more often than not, that was true. And it would be this really profound aha after the fact as I looked back on my process.
It's hard to know, like, am I trusting the process for that or am I trusting the process for that?
No one was trying to coerce me into a bedroom saying that my liberation was through this act, you know? What? That I know of.
I just imagine some chick like trying that and you're like, cool, and like walk away. Just
She was like,
like, cool, have a good day. Just
I'm
too
just,
oblivious
yeah,
to
not,
it.
I'm just like, hold on, I'm resisting something. I gotta go.
Hang on, I gotta work
Yeah,
on me.
I have a breakthrough. Just, I'll be back.
And she's like, dang it. Next
That's
one.
awesome.
Anyways,
Yeah, seriously.
because that's just how you are.
So she knew it was about silencing her, burying her under a mountain of legal fees, and discrediting her in the public eye. NXIVM had done it before. She remembered the stories of others who had tried to leave or speak out only to be sued into submission and tormented with mountains of legal fees and shame.
That's rough.
Yeah, so it's like, we're going to destroy you. We're going to bankrupt you
They
unless
have
you shut
mounds
up.
and mounds of funds
So
to
much
do
money.
that.
So much money.
And it's one person. They're like, well,
Yeah. In addition to legal threats, NXIVM launched a smear campaign against her. Friends she had once trusted turned on her, spreading rumors online and within NXIVM circles. Some accused her of being mentally unstable, while others suggested she was seeking fame by fabricating stories about the group. It was a coordinated effort orchestrated to make her look like a disgruntled former member rather than a survivor of abuse. What Sarah didn't know was that private investigators were also following her. NXIVM had hired them to dig into her past, looking for anything they could use to discredit her. She began noticing strange cars parked near her house, shadowy figures lingering on the street. Sarah wasn't the only one. Other defectors of the group shared similar stories. A former coach described being followed for weeks after leaving, her every move tracked. Another ex-member revealed that NXIVM had threatened to release her collateral if she spoke out, even going so far as to contact her family with veiled warnings. Each story was a thread in the larger tapestry of fear Keith Raniere and the group had woven around to ensure that even those who escaped felt his grip long after they were gone.
yeah, that's terrifying.
Totally.
That's so scary.
Yeah. And they were hard on it. They were strict
Yeah.
about it. They were quick to act, and I think that it overwhelmed anybody who potentially had anything to say. For
Yeah.
years, NXIVM had operated with impunity, silencing critics with legal harassment, blackmail, and character assassination. But Sarah, but Sarah, but Sarah, but Sarah, Jesus, Sarah refused to back down.
Good, Sarah.
Good job, Sarah.
Someone had to do it.
With every threat and every legal letter, she felt her resolve harden. She would not let them win.
Good.
The article she contributed to in the New York Times would expose them, and she hoped it would encourage others to speak out. And speak out they did.
Yes.
Slowly, more former members came forward sharing their stories and adding weight to the growing case against NXIVM. It was a battle fought in courtrooms, in the media, and in the hearts of survivors, each one reclaiming their freedom inch by inch.
Dang.
Big time, right?
It like blew up huge.
Yeah. The walls of NXIVM were closing in fast by late 2017, just months after the New York Times expose had shattered the veil of secrecy around the group. Informers members were coming forward with horrifying accounts of abuse, branding rituals, and blackmail. Federal authorities were investigating, and Keith Raniere, the self-proclaimed visionary leader, knew his time was running out. With his closest allies still loyal to him, including Allison Mack,
They ran.
the group fled to Mexico.
Oh, yep. That just makes you look so much
Puerto
worse.
Vallarta, baby.
I mean, if you're, obviously they're not, but like if you're really innocent or believe you are innocent, like why run? Don't run. That
I
just
think-
solidifies it.
From what I read too, they made it sound like they were just going
We're
on
going on a
vacay.
vacation. No, we're running because
Totally.
we're fucked.
Yeah, no, they're in trouble. For Allison, leaving felt surreal. By this point, she had become one of Raniere's most trusted leaders, deeply enmeshed in the hierarchy.
No, get out of there.
To her, Raniere wasn't just a mentor anymore. He was the embodiment of the movement she had dedicated 7 years of her life to.
Mm-hmm.
When he told her they needed to leave the United States, she didn't question him. Loyalty demanded sacrifice, he would say, and she was ready to follow wherever he led.
Mm-mm-mm.
The group chose Mexico as their refuge, specifically the small town of Puerto Vallarta. I've been there. It's
Yeah.
very nice.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Should we go?
It's beautiful. It was a world away from the headquarters in Albany, New York. Nestled among lush tropical landscapes, the town offered a stark contrast to the growing chaos back home. But the idyllic scenery couldn't mask the sense of paranoia that had begun to consume Raniere and his inner circle.
Good.
Because they know what's coming.
Eat them out.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Take that out.
We're keeping it. News from the United States
what I
filtered
mean.
in sporadically, each update more alarming than the last. Indictments were imminent, and the FBI was closing in. Allison spent much of her time tending to Raniere, ensuring he was comfortable and shielded from stress.
Oh my
She
gosh.
still believed in his teaching, still believed she was part of something revolutionary, even as cracks in the facade were becoming harder to ignore. She felt the weight of her role in NXIVM, but any doubts were suppressed by Raniere's presence. He reassured her that their work was too important to fail.
It just bothers me.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
This one sucks.
This one sucks hard.
Definitely.
Need to know what happens.
We're getting there. Raniere's confidence couldn't stop what was coming. On March 25th, 2018, so this is now
2018.
Yep. So
If you
this
think
is
about it, that's not that long
October. So
ago.
October is when the New York Times expose came out.
Mm-hmm.
They took off around that time frame, like towards the end of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So they had 2-3 months in Mexico, right?
Yeah, living la vida loca.
Living La Vida Loca. Is that Mexico?
La vida loca.
I mean, I know it's Spanish.
It's Spanish, but I don't know.
Okay. I'll
It
let
just
that
felt
fly.
right.
Okay. Good for you. Trying to think of what's the Costa Rican one. I can't
Living la
remember.
vida loca.
Mexican authorities, acting in coordination with the FBI, surrounded the villa.
Ooh, like a big SWAT team.
I wasn't there, but probably. I imagine in my head that's what I saw too.
Yeah.
Officers stormed the property, breaking through the illusion of sanctuary. Raniere tried to maintain his calm, instructing his followers not to resist. Allison watched as the man she had dedicated her life to was taken into custody, handcuffed, and led away.
Oh, it's so good. Then what?
For Allison, the moment was both shocking and disorienting, as
Mhm.
you would
Oh,
imagine.
yeah, probably terrifying for
She
where
had
she was at.
sacrificed so much for Raniere and the group, believing in his vision, following his orders, and enforcing his rules. Now the man she had revered was being treated like a common criminal, his carefully constructed world crumbling before her eyes. After Raniere's arrest, Allison returned to the United States, but her troubles were far from over. In April 2018, so January, February, March, April, 1 month later,
Crashing down. She's
I
starting
I
to see it.
I just realized something
What?
about myself is that I don't know where months are. I have to say them all until I get
I've been
sequentially to the
watching you
one.
do that, and I'm like, maybe it's for the
Yeah, January, February,
podcast.
March, April. I was like, wow, I couldn't just be like April is the 4th month, you know?
Yeah,
I can't do that.
I see it, like the dates
hmm
when I say it.
You just know where it is.
Like if I say December, I just see
Okay, I
December
mean,
and then
December
12.
is easy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I don't do that. I have to like.
And that's how my brain does it.
That's so
It has
great.
like it's like the calendar headline and then like the number of the
hmm
month. So like February and
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I don't. I can't do that.
oh
I'll
well.
like, even if I see like 5, 10, 2014, I'm like, January, February, March, April, May. May is 5.
It's okay, babe. You're just,
Oh, so I'm seeing you don't go to college.
you got to ascend.
After Raniere's arrest, Allison returned to the United States. In 2018, April of 2018, she was arrested by federal authorities and charged with sex trafficking, forced labor, and racketeering.
Ooh, wow.
Facing overwhelming evidence, Allison pleaded guilty to charges of racketeering and conspiracy. In court, she expressed deep regret for her actions, describing herself as misguided and manipulated by Raniere.
hmm Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I was just thinking is yes, she needs to be held accountable for her actions. And yes, she did do this. And yes, she did do most of this willingly. But she was also like, so I don't like using the term brainwashed, but so brainwashed till that was all she knew. And all she knew was right.
Yes.
So it's hard because, like, yes, hold her accountable, but also, like, uh,
I don't know. I don't know about
yes,
that
hold
one.
her accountable for sure. But you know what I mean?
Definitely,
Like,
definitely hold her
I
accountable.
just think she has a lot more going on up here than like just ill intent.
She does. She does. I would say like let's get to a little bit further, and
Yeah.
I think we can talk about it after.
Yeah. It's just hard to tell.
Also, racketeering is typically for like mobsters and gangsters because it involves just like this web of crime,
hmm
and it's pretty interesting that that's what she was charged with.
Well, yeah, it's a web of crime. But yeah,
Right.
it's just hard to tell someone that they're like, if you like told someone like Santa doesn't exist and they're like, no, Santa exists my whole life.
Mm.
Santa has exists, and you're like, no, you're wrong, and then you're like, punish them for it. It's just
Yeah, but
tough.
if you sexually abused and sexually
yeah.
trafficked and branded
And you should
people,
know
all
that's wrong.
because like if you know, I was like branding Santa on women's asses, like I should probably go to
You
jail
should.
for a while.
But do they? I guess you'll get into it. Do they go into any what are like psychological testing?
They, not that I'm aware of,
You just
like of her and her.
yeah, you know, like in like some court cases,
Oh,
they'll
like pleading. I think that I
not to
think it.
plead that she's insane, but
Oh,
just to like
I don't know if they did. I don't know if they did specifically, but I mean, I think at this point she was like, "Oh, okay."
yeah, she got it.
She was
She was
like,
like,
"I."
this was all.
And oftentimes, you are given a much lighter sentence if you
Plead guilty.
plead
Yeah.
something and you don't take this to trial.
hmm No, she was for sure guilty.
Yeah.
Definitely needed to be caught. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's
From
it's
what
such
I
a sticky
gather,
situation.
right? From what I gather, she was remorseful.
Genuine?
Yes, from what I gather. Keith Raniere's trial, on the other hand, began in May 2019. So his was later, 1 month later, 1 year later. Can't do math. I'm looking at April, May, trying to do it in my head.
I'm dyslexic and, you don't know months.
Yeah, and it became a media spectacle. See, there are things we would never know about ourselves
Welcome
if
to
we
our
didn't do a
podcast.
podcast where we fumble through trying to explain cults to you. Clearly incapable of leading our own.
We're working on it. It's got to start off rough, right?
Definitely. Former members of NXIVM and DOS took the stand providing testimonies about their experiences.
I want to watch those
Yeah,
court
so do I.
trials.
There's a lot of stuff that I waited to watch because I wanted to watch it with you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is a
I
good
really
one.
want to watch those.
They spoke of the intense psychological manipulation, the branding ceremonies, and the ways in which Raniere controlled every aspect of their lives.
Mhm.
Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence against Raniere. Emails, text messages, and collateral documents revealed the intricate system of blackmail and control he had built within DOS. One thing I didn't write in here, but one thing I did listen to, is that there was an underage girl that he had. This is a big part of it too about the child trafficking part, was
Mhm.
that there's an underage girl that he had nudes of
Oh,
on his computer that they found, and he aggressively pushed back against that, saying they were planted.
no. They weren't planted.
Yeah. Testimonies painted Raniere as a man who exploited the vulnerabilities of his followers, manipulating them under the guise of empowerment. The court heard how he used Mack to enforce his rules, recruit women, and maintain the secrecy of his operations. One particularly chilling example came when the jury was shown videos and audio recordings of Raniere. In one recording, he casually discussed the branding process, describing it as a meaningful symbol of loyalty, saying that they should ask, please brand me, it would be an honor.
Oh, no.
He was heard saying that. They should say, please brand me. It would be an honor.
That's horrible. And he knew that the brand was his initials.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that just, it's horrible anyway, but like, it's just more horrible that it was his initials.
Right? I
Like, if
should
it was
get,
just like just a symbol that they had, still horrible, but it's like disgusting
right.
that it was his initials.
Absolutely. Approximately 150 women joined DOS.
No.
Yes. I believe that most of those members, most of the 150, if not all of them, were branded.
Mm.
Although Mack avoided trial by pleading guilty in April 2019, her actions loomed large over the courtroom. Prosecutors described her as one of Raniere's closest collaborators, responsible for recruiting and grooming women for DOS. Several survivors testified about how Mack had manipulated them, presenting NXIVM as an empowering community while coercing them into submitting to degrading rituals and sexual exploitation. In her guilty plea, Allison admitted to her role in the crime, saying, I must take full responsibility for my conduct. I am and will be sorry for the rest of my life. She expressed remorse for the harm she had caused, claiming she had been blinded by her trust in Raniere and her belief in their mission.
Okay. Okay.
In June 2019, after a 6-week trial, the jury found Keith Raniere guilty on all counts, including sex trafficking, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit forced labor.
Good.
The evidence had been overwhelming, and his testimonies of survivors left no doubt about his guilt.
Mm. Good.
In October of
Go to jail.
2020, he was sentenced to 120 years in prison.
In 2020?
Uh-huh.
Recent.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. About 4 years ago.
Yeah.
A symbolic life sentence for the man who once claimed to be a genius guiding humanity toward enlightenment.
And 100 and what years in prison?
120.
120 years
Yeah.
in prison.
Not long enough, man.
No.
Pretty gnarly.
That's an odd question, but when they have a life sentence or a sentence that like exceeds life and they know it's going to,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean that they're also buried on the grounds, or is that
I think that's. I don't think so.
that would
I'm sure
be
that there
cool.
is some sort of burial area for prisoners. I don't. Unless it just goes back to the family, like, hey, they finally died, deal with it. I
I'm
don't know.
sure it goes back to the family.
We
'cause
probably pay for it as taxpayers.
I'm sure it goes back to the family, but can you imagine if they're like, you have 150 years and then you die and you still have 50 years to serve and they just bury you on the grounds?
That sounds like a ghost podcast.
Yeah. And then you're
Where
left
you're
there
just, like,
to
in
haunt the jail
chains.
and stay
Yeah.
in jail.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that. But I think that
Hmm.
oftentimes I believe it's more symbolic.
Yeah, I'm sure they just sent him back to their family. But
I don't know.
I just like that idea.
Right. Allison Mack's sentencing hearing took place in June of 2021. So even more recent.
Mm-hmm.
In a letter to the court, she expressed deep regret for her actions, stating, I threw myself into the teachings of Keith Raniere with everything I had. I believed wholeheartedly that his mentorship was leading me to a better, more enlightened version of myself. I was wrong. Her attorneys argued that she had been manipulated by Raniere and had worked with prosecutors to expose his crimes. Which,
Yes, but no.
it's like, if
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what I was trying to say.
it's so hard because, like, if you know this ship is sinking your best bet is to get a life raft.
Yeah.
And she did that, thus only being sentenced. Can you guess? Do you want to guess how many years she was sentenced to?
No, I'm not good at that. I don't get sentencing.
All right, we'll wait then. The court acknowledged her cooperation, but also emphasized the gravity of her actions.
Mm-hmm.
Survivors who spoke at the hearing described the profound physical and psychological harm she had inflicted. One is quoted saying, "You broke me, but I'm rebuilding." In the end, Mack was sentenced to 3 years in prison in order to
No.
pay a $20,000 fine.
No. Okay. See, I think,
That's fucked up.
in my opinion, it should have been longer.
So wrong. So I believe that Keith Raniere had to pay like 1.75 million, and in addition to other fees, in addition to more restitution, like he had to contribute and pay quite a bit more. I don't even know if he had the funds to do it. I'm not sure about
Well,
actually how that goes, but
Mm.
$20,000 fine.
No, it should be more.
Dude, the perks of whatever she got for what, almost seven years.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I mean, that plea deal sucks.
Claire, I believe, was sentenced. I didn't really talk about her in this, but Claire, the other girl who was kind of bankrolling everything, I believe, got 5 years. I could be mistaken, so don't quote me, but it was like inconsequential compared to the damage that they caused.
I feel like, in my
Yeah.
opinion, it should have been longer.
Definitely.
But,
And most people agreed. I think everyone was like, wow, that is not a lot of time.
and that was in 2021.
That was in 2021. So she could be out, actually. Especially like good behavior and stuff. She could have been out in like a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah.
It's rough because part of me is like the brainwash and the manipulated, but the other part of me is like, I still feel like it should have been longer.
Yeah, the actions were her own. She
Yeah.
did do them, you know? It's like, I mean, luckily
this-
no one died.
I was going to say,
in all of
it's
this,
like
right?
Susan
Like,
Atkins, who was
how
at the
many
murders,
years
but
did she
supposedly
get?
didn't actually do any
Yeah.
of the murders,
Yeah.
was sentenced to life.
Which, you know, I mean, there is a difference between killing someone
Yes.
and sexually exploiting them.
Yeah.
Not saying either is correct, but there is a difference by law on how much time you serve for those crimes.
Which is understandable. But yeah, just in my head, like, Susan was allegedly,
Allegedly. It seems like our favorite word.
I know, because
It's,
allegedly she did not do the final blow in that murder on that case. So,
Right.
but she was an accessory, but she had a lifelong sentence.
Yeah.
Where in
yeah,
this,
she died in jail.
she was a key,
Perpetrator.
and it was 3 years.
It was 3 years.
And instead of just affecting, still murder's way worse. I totally agree. But one life,
Sure.
this was hundreds of lives.
I wonder if that being COVID time, post-COVID, if that played a part. I don't know.
Well, I guess I forgot about that.
Because there was, things were a little bit different during that time frame. I don't know. I'm not sure. But that is the first thought that comes to mind. Anyway,
It's just nuts to me.
the NXIVM case left a profound impact on everyone involved. For survivors, the trial brought some justice, though their scars remain. For Allison Mack, it marked the start of a long reckoning with her actions and rebuilding her life. The trial also reminded the public how manipulation and coercion can thrive under the guise of self-empowerment. Ultimately, the court exposed NXIVM's leader, its loyal followers, and the devastating effects of blind loyalty. It's a story of betrayal and exploitation, but also of the courage of those who broke free to reveal the truth. Allison's journey is one of transformation, not the kind NXIVM promised, but the tragic result of a woman seeking meaning and becoming complicit in harm. Her actions stand as a stark warning of how easily power and loyalty can be weaponized by a manipulative leader. And before we talk about it, the sources I have are NXIVM and the Cult of Personality by Sarah Berman, Scarred, The True Story of How I Escaped NXIVM by Sarah Edmondson, New York Times expose from October 2017. I read a summary of that. I don't pay for the New York Times, so I couldn't read the full article. U.S. federal court documents from the United States versus Keith Raniere, The Vow on HBO, which is like the big doc series about it, and then Seduced, Inside the NXIVM Cult, which is a Starz documentary series. Bam.
Dang. I feel like, that one was our like biggest cult case so far.
Definitely.
Manson was most
Most
infamous.
recent, yeah.
Infamous. No. Love is One was our most recent.
Oh, you're right. They were similar timing,
I
right?
guess so,
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2017, 2020. And
Yeah, I guess
then
there was so much time, like, when they actually got arrested in 2018 before the
mhm,
actual hearing and all that, and I don't
yeah.
know if she was free during that time frame. I don't know the specifics of that layover period,
I
but
think
either way.
this one was just, like, the biggest affected group, like,
Yeah,
hundreds of people.
and that's just in the DOS, right? That
Yeah,
doesn't account for
the
everyone
whole
else that went
NXIVM
through.
and
Right.
all of their headquarters or whatever.
Mhm.
Wow. That one's nuts, I can't wait to watch. I wanna
Yeah,
watch The Vow,
me too. Yeah, I'm curious
and I
more. I
wanna watch
watched
Court
snippets of it. I
Trials.
didn't watch it. That's something I do wanna reference for everyone at home listening or watching and listening, that, like, week by week, we go through these, so, like we said, we're dabbling, we're getting the
We're
basics, we're
skimming.
trying to kind of, like, build something that's entertaining to listen to and gives a bit of information that's good enough,
Mhm,
but we please feel free, if one of these inspires you, like, dive deeper into it, get more information.
mhm, there's so
Also,
much
if
more
there's a
information.
correction for us, please message us or please let us know. We're not perfect, and sometimes we might miss something or misinterpret something.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, that'd be nice, yeah, if you get a good correction, then
please, yeah, totally open to it.
like, post it on the gram so that everyone's aware
Yeah, yeah.
of, yeah,
I'm happy to even like post little,
snippets.
or like, hey, episode 4, number 2, as we, as a look back, a
Mhm.
reflection on the other one, and if we need to adjust something, or even if
Yeah,
we learn something as we watch things, we're like, we need to include that. We can
yeah,
also
talk
come
about
back
it.
and add it. So
Yeah, that one,
pretty rough.
yeah. It was just, like, really mainstream and impactful, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
And
it sounds
it's
like it had a lot of higher ups in it,
a lot of money.
a lot of money, and it affected a lot of people, and just, like, the lengths that they would go to after these people left, because it is common for ex-cult or ex-members
Hmm.
to get some type of harassment and threats and all of that, but, like,
Right.
these people were getting stalked, and detectives laid on them, and lawsuits, and phone calls, and emails, and all these things.
Right.
That'd be terrifying to go through.
This was a big one. This was a big, like, the racketeering charge, I think, is symbolic to how
How big
much
it was.
influence they had.
Mhm.
I'm just looking it up. At the height, they had approximately 700 active members.
Wow. And that's in NXIVM altogether or DOS?
That is NXIVM altogether. And there are other groups out there that aren't necessarily culty. Even though they are, like, they don't
They're, like,
have
a
this,
little
yeah, they
culty,
don't have this
yeah.
notorious element to them. I mean, Landmark is, I believe, headquartered in LA. It's very similar, self-improvement, workshops, personal growth, personal responsibility. Like, the lineage is the same, and I believe they all derive this information. I forget where it really stems from, but they all kind of took this information and created their own
Yeah, and run with it
organizations
and
with
use it
it.
to
Yeah,
do like, some use it for good and some use
totally.
it for bad.
So, not saying these are cults, but here's a little list. Like, Tony Robbins is a big one. Like, self-improvement, unleash your power, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm,
You have Landmark. You have Toastmasters International.
mhm.
And it's, we're not saying these are
Oh,
cults, but we're saying that they have a
Toastmasters, yeah.
similar tone to them about personal
Just
development and
and, like,
breaking through.
growth.
Yep.
But, yeah.
The School of
NXIVM was bad,
Life.
it's different.
Totally. Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. Like, this is just a quick Google search. And they're all, like, that's what's so difficult about this one for me, especially, is that the underlying, I guess, processing and programming
Could
and
be really
development
good.
is really good.
Yeah, and, like, when used good,
Yes,
like those, companies you just listed,
totally.
when used good, can be very beneficial. One of them that you mentioned is one that,
Oh,
um
Toastmasters?
yeah,
Mhm.
Toastmasters. We would talk about it a lot in college,
Yeah, it's
and, like,
awesome.
it's amazing.
Food for public speaking and for
Oh, yeah,
skills related to that and breaking through your
and they're
fear around it.
so
Absolutely.
wonderful, yeah.
I don't know enough about the group as a whole to say it's wonderful. I don't know the profit structure. I don't know the hierarchy.
Mhm,
Because a lot of these are kind of, multi-level schemes in a way where the only way they survive is if they continue to get members and you continue to be a part of it and you
mhm.
continue to contribute.
But like
So
everything, a
that is that
grocery
is
store.
that is capitalism, right? Like,
Yeah.
we all, like, yeah, my favorite grocery store, I'm gonna tell everybody about it and I'm gonna want you to go and I'm gonna want, shout out to
Yeah.
Winter Ridge. So it's like, Yeah, we're promoters. We're advocators for
Yeah.
things that we love.
And everything's a little culty,
A little
but
bit, yeah.
doesn't mean it's a bad cult. Sometimes people do use good things with bad intention.
It can be a good outcome from a good thing or a bad outcome from a good thing,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
just that's what I find so fascinating about cults is because looking at them like the outside and like or the beginning parts, you're like, wow, this is really great. Like this would have been like really cool. Like the Manson cult when we talked about it.
Right.
Like it was just a bunch of, fun loving hippies traveling in a van and we're like, wow, that sounds so fun. And then it just spun bad really quick and you're like, whoa, no, 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 no.
Totally.
But I think people forget to look at that aspect of that beginning part of something that's so good and that's what gets people into it. Uh because we're so quick to just only focus on the negative and label it like as a negative cult when there were those positive aspects of it at some point
Definitely.
that glimmered through.
Hmm. And I
Kind
think,
of just a rant.
I like to believe that this started or had good intentions in the beginning.
Yeah, but then power goes to your head, or
Right.
you figure out what you can do and what you can manipulate, what you can hold over people.
What
Let's
can
see
you
how
get
far
away
it
with?
goes.
Yeah. How many women can I sleep with, as the leader of this cult group?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is also a symbol of power, at least in a man's world, is like the, like I was going to say the conquering of women, but it's like that's kind of how some of these view it, right?
Hmm.
It's like he saw his role as a leader as a way to exploit the sexuality of women. And that's not okay. But you look back throughout history and it's not uncommon for leaders to do that.
Yeah, because it like almost added to their hierarchy.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we all tout people who get
Tout.
tout. Yeah, we all hold people
I know, I
higher
just like that word.
if they have money, if they have influence, if they have women after them,
Attractiveness,
if
yeah.
they're attractive, like we hold them up higher. And so like that's just one of the pillars of power.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's just nuts because the whole concept of cults, they can so easily flip on a dime from one thing to
Right?
a whole other thing.
Yeah. And people are so easily misled once they're too deeply
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, once you're in it and that flip happens, like, you're already in it.
Right.
It's like that's
Right.
gonna be really hard to maneuver.
Yeah. And, thankfully the group that I was a part of, the leadership group, it's a leadership training, it's a series of trainings. You can come back and you can coach and you can be more involved. And thankfully, outside of, the investment monetarily and of time, it's like most of the things that I acquired from that were positive. They
Yeah,
benefited
pretty
my life.
beneficial. You still talk about them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think I still have reframed. It's just another lens I look through life from.
Mhm.
I do believe though that some of it isn't that great. It's like, and you could pick anything apart, any organization, any institution, any
Any
workplace. It's like you can
relationship, it's
totally like
yeah,
there's good and not so good from those
it's
things,
just
but
the yin and the yang, baby.
definitely. And I mean, I'm sure that there's space for another time or another episode to talk more in detail about some of the specifics of it, but I enjoyed this process because of the correlations and the similarities of how these structures were built,
Mhm.
you know? But
Yeah. But yeah.
so babe,
Oh, I thought you were gonna forget.
no. Would
Nice.
you
Oh,
join this cult?
hang on, my nose ring.
Oh yeah, yeah, you got to clear the nose ring so you can answer the
Well,
question.
no, it's just flipped down. I could feel it.
Does it tickle?
Yeah, I can just like feel it rubbing on like my septum.
Mm. So babe, is this a cult that you would have joined?
Ooh, actually, really thinking on it, it's kind of hard because you'll get this because you know me,
Mm-hmm.
but you know how much I hate like the self journey,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
self help stuff. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just get really uncomfortable with when I have to do it. Where like if he's like, you should journal about it, I'm like, mm-mm. I think it's great. I think there's pros to it, and I really think it could benefit me. But just like a part of me recoils in disgust.
Mm.
Um, you know? You've seen it.
I kind of have seen it, yeah. We're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not big on talking about your feelings and exposing things and,
Yeah, if
you
anything, I'm
know,
like, "No, no, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna
yeah,
go sit alone and cry in a dark room."
internally process and do it on your own time, and I think
Mhm.
that may deter you from this because this is so exposing,
Uh-huh.
and it's in a group
And
setting,
it's
and
really uncomfortable, and it's
you
all
have
the
a
things I don't
hierarchy
like.
involved, and, just like
I
anything
don't
human made, it's flawed.
Yeah, I don't like that
So,
community thing. I don't like hierarchy. I don't like talking about my feelings
yeah,
or what's wrong with me.
nothing.
No.
Nothing is wrong
No,
with you.
that's such a lie. But, like, just knowing me, that those are all things that really
Right.
deter me. Um, so it's hard because that would make me be like, "No, I would have never signed up for that." But
Right.
also, I do think, like, if the time was right in my life, that, yeah, I totally would have signed up for that.
Yeah.
If I was at that point in my life where I was ready to embark on that journey or want to find that deeper sense of self connection with strangers, which sounds rough and horrible, but maybe,
It took me a lot to get into my
yeah.
process of it.
And I think there
Yeah.
are those times in people's lives where those things can be really important to them and really beneficial to them, and they're
Right.
more susceptible to them.
Right. Definitely.
Have I experienced one of those yet? No.
Mhm.
Will I in the future? Possibly.
You're still in your early 20s. There's plenty of time for
Exactly.
your
I'm
cult
still
moment.
fully susceptible. I am at the prime cult joining age. I just have yet to find my cult.
Right? Yeah, you dabbled, but nobody's really consumed you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, not for
No,
me. Too much
actually,
community.
you're kind of a part of like the Target cult. You're definitely a part of the seasonal latte cult. You're a part of your
Pumpkin
own little
spice
communities.
lattes.
Exactly.
That's
So,
different. I only like
they're not big
certain,
institutional cults
like I
though.
won't drink. I only like a certain pumpkin spice latte from a certain coffee shop.
Right, right.
I'm particular.
You're part of the exclusivity cult.
Yeah. But
So I get it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
To answer the question, I think as of right now, no.
Mhm.
I don't think that would have been a cult I joined
Okay.
because those
Well,
things
let's
just deter me.
watch more about it. Let's discuss more about it. And I'm
Yeah, and maybe I'll
curious if
change my mind.
if your position shifts or not, or if you still see it as something you wouldn't have done.
I want to watch some shows and kind of see their pitch, like the
Totally.
beginning,
Yeah.
because maybe it's a lot more welcoming and drawing than I'm picturing. Because in my head, I'm picturing like any like community that I've already seen that's like, we're self help, come join us,
Right.
and I'm like, mm.
I don't know. I'm sure it's possible that it'll trigger the same nerve in you, but I think either way, a very interesting story, the
That was
process
a
of it all.
great story.
So, thank you all for listening to episode 4. Like we said, if you have any feedback, any opinions, any notes for us, we'd love to hear them.
Let us know if you would join it.
Yes, let us know. Please subscribe, please like, please comment, please do all the things that help us continue to do this and have fun
Oh
doing
yeah,
it.
leave a review.
Leave some reviews, write some comments, even if they're dirty.
But yeah,
I like how it takes you a second to like hear the things I say, and you're like, should I
no,
be offended or should I giggle?
that
And then
is
you're
what
like,
happened. I'm like, am I
all right,
gonna
I'll
be mad
giggle.
about it or no?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
after we watch a little bit more about it, maybe I'll change my mind and let everybody know.
Post a little update about it.
Post a little update. But yeah, I'm
All
just
right.
not a big fan of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode with Babe taking it over. This might be kind of You
Off
did
and
really
on,
good. That was
on
your
and off and
audition.
on.
That was your audition, and I think you passed.
Thank you.
You're less dyslexic than I, and
Yeah.
it was smoother.
I stutter from time to time or I'll lose my place and
Mhm.
repeat,
I
but
just can't
whatever.
pronounce words. But it was really nice. So maybe every once in a while, if like school's overwhelming,
Yeah, we'll
I'll
dabble.
throw it at you.
Definitely. But thank you for listening. Have a
Thank
good
you for
rest of your
listening. We
weekend. I
will
guess today's Wednesday, but we're going to drop it on Friday.
drop it on Friday.
Drop it on
And
Friday.
yeah, stay tuned for episode 5.
Stay tuned. We're getting there. We're
I
making our
know.
rounds. I wonder what the next one's going to be. Any
Same.
ideas? Send us our way.
Yeah, because I have yet
Send
to
them
pick
our
one.
way, not us our way. We're already here.
Yeah, I haven't picked one yet. I
Okay.
told you I would,
All
but I
right.
haven't.
Bye, nerds.
Bye. This episode of Babe Let's Join a Cult is sponsored by Tea Tree House Teas, and let me tell you, we've been obsessed. I've been drinking their Vita Long Chai lately, and it's perfect for the season. The Lung Love blend is on deck as cold season kicks in. Tea Tree House makes these unique botanical blends that are gorgeous from start to finish with some serious magic, like their butterfly infusion that turns blue and sparkles. Plus, every tea is ethically sourced, sustainably grown, and packaged in reusable, compostable containers so that you feel good with every sip. And get this, with each purchase, they plant a tree to help protect endangered plants. It's like a small little ritual with a big impact. You can get yours at teatreehouse.com and use our code Babe Let's Join a Cult for 10% off. That's Babe Let's Join a Cult at teatreehouse.com. And trust me, you'll find your new favorite tea so you can be drinking the tea and not the Kool-Aid.